some notes from this weekend's classes.
Uh-huh.
I will start with an elderly relative of mine.
Okay.
Who's going into cognitive decline.
Okay.
And so we were thinking about doing sage and basil daily.
Yeah.
And you had there was a mention that you do it in tonic or in oil. If we're doing
I would suggest basil internally and sage as like a body tonic.
Okay, that answers the question. I was going to ask how long between, but
I would internal on the basil. I mean, they can always inhale each one, but you want to get the sage on the body.
Okay. All right. That answers that question.
How much internal?
2 or 3 drops internally on the basil. In a little water, a little juice, a little something, and yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. That takes care of that question. Unconscious blend for asthma. Would we inhale that or use that internal?
Yeah, you would inhale it. You could also put it in a little lotion and on the chest. In the beginning, I would just have them inhale out of the bottle. And then after a little while, you can start applying it to the chest and in the body, like 4 or 5 drops in some lotion and then just right here.
Okay. All right.
It's got a lot of larch in it, and larch is really super good for that.
Okay. Naoli, if we're going to apply that topically, can we put that in witch hazel?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Naoli is really good to put all over the body. It's really kind of fortifying and invigorating, and also can potentially help reduce allergies.
Okay. So many years ago, in one of the first times I ran into essential oils, they were talking about putting essential oils neat in the arch of the foot. If I'm going to apply oils to the feet, is the arch a good place to go to, or is there a better place on the foot?
What are you trying to do?
Just
is it just in general?
General applications.
Yeah. Arch is good, especially if there are oils that can be a little bit sensitizing. Like a good example would be, you could probably put a couple drops of tarragon on your wrist, but it might irritate the skin a little bit. But if you put it on like the palm of your hand or the sole of your feet, won't irritate it at all, because different parts of the body, the skin is different in different areas. And so things like that, if you're wanting to hit the bloodstream quickly, put it on top of the foot, because there's less fatty tissue on the top of the foot, so it will penetrate and hit the bloodstream at a much faster rate. Okay. If you're looking at trying to impact the energy body, do in between the toes, like this. Now, keep in mind that there is the potential for some irritation because the skin in here is a little bit more sensitive, like in between the toes.
Yeah.
And so like I would keep it to things that are very soothing, like spikenard, lavender, even sandalwood, lang lang, something like that. But that would be more because like you're hitting a lot of the meridians that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay, for me in doing sleep, in the endocrine class on page 4, we had for symptoms of circadian rhythm disruption. You had under number 4 C treatment, you had suggested using Apotheohola for body awareness, spinal awareness. Okay, so is that so I go to sleep pretty rapidly, but then I'll typically wake up about 2:30, 3 o'clock, someplace in there. And recently I've taken to inhaling tarragon. I seem to be going back to sleep quicker, but if I could avoid waking up at that time, that would be really nice.
So if you're falling asleep and you're asleep, I mean, I would still probably use the Apotheohola, and you could do both. You could do a little tarragon and then do the Apotheohola.
Mhm.
That was a substitute for one of the lotuses or the ginger lily or something.
Yes.
But if you want to augment that, and this doesn't even have to be an essential oil. This could just be something you go down to the health food store and get.
Mhm.
But I would take like a capsule or two or a drop or two of St. John's wort right as you're going to bed.
Okay.
And there was a study done like 25 years ago or something
Mhm.
that when people took St. John's wort right as they go into bed, and not very much, like a capsule to 2 capsules,
Right.
it didn't make them fall asleep faster. It didn't make them go like deeper in sleep, but it prolonged the amount of time you stayed asleep. And so if you had the tendency to wake up in the night,
Mhm.
you started buying more time, like
Okay.
you go longer and longer.
Mhm.
For me, working those circadian rhythms will make me last longer in the night before, at some point during the night, I gotta get up and go pee,
Yeah.
oh man, I gotta go do it at some point. Right. And so it will make it, I'll make it much longer before that happens. The other one is the nerve soothe, which is Melissa combined with a couple other things and
Mhm.
applied as a body tonic. That will make me sleep through most of the night. I would honestly start with the St. John's wort thing first and
Okay.
see how well that works for you.
All
And
right.
because part of the issue is it's probably hormonal. Like, there's some hormone that starts kicking in about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and says, like, Ralph, get up. You got to do
Yeah.
something. And you get up and you're like, there's nothing to do. And it's like, no, really, you should get up.
Didn't we
Never,
just talk
never,
about
never mind.
didn't we
Yeah,
just
never
talk
mind.
about pattern interrupts and things?
Right,
Let me go back
right.
to my notes here.
But the thing that's really nice about the St. John's wort is it is a blood purifier and
Mhm.
it helps clean up some of the hormones that are like lingering or that are causing that. And
Okay.
so that way it's just like fresh hormones hitting the system, because
Mhm.
sometimes it's in there and it's just circulating around and just hitting the receptor site. So it's either still being produced, or there's just some of that hormone around that then, you reach a certain level of relaxation and then it starts waking you up to, take some sort of action that there's nothing going on. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. All right.
so that's where I would start. That's the simplest approach. That's the easiest approach.
Mhm.
And if that doesn't work, then we can start going, well, maybe you address something in the endocrine system, or maybe, there's something else going on a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a deeper state of relaxation in the nervous system, but still the hormones can be kicking the nervous system in. So I
Mhm.
like to kind of do the St. John's wort. You're falling asleep fine, you're going to
Yeah.
sleep fine, you're in deep sleep fine. It's just, you know, that thing happens about 2 or 3 in the morning. And so um I noticed that, especially if it's hormonal, the more that really gets ingrained, the
Mhm.
harder it is to fall asleep after you've waken up like that.
Yeah.
And so that is a little bit of an indicator that it's hormonal, but still the St. John's wort should help clean that up.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
All right.
Any sort of
Um,
tinfoil will work for that hat. You can use any sort of, tinfoil
okay.
for a
So
hat.
I don't have to get Reynolds. I can use the
No,
local
you
Mexican
you
brand.
can use the generic. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Coffee for skin detoxing.
Hmm.
Is there a place on the body that's better to apply a coffee? And I'm going to use witch hazel as a
Sure.
carrier.
Oh, that's a
Any
great
place
idea.
on the body, like all over the feet?
I would hit the hot spots. Like if you have an ache or a pain, I'd hit those
Okay.
spots. Like if you have a bad back or a bad knee, I'd go
Yeah.
to those spots. Um, I'm going to share my first experience, because I'd looked for coffee for a long time. Because in the old days, I used to take a big bottle of instant coffee and
Mm-hmm.
dump it in the bathtub and take a coffee bath that way. And it left a coffee ring, and it's expensive. And so I was always looking for like coffee to oil.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first found it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna put it on my feet. And then I put it, I was just putting it neat on my, I put a bunch of drops in my hand, I'd rub it like this, and then I just rub it on my feet. And I was like, oh my God, my feet feel so good. But my lower legs kind of hurt. And so I did it on my lower legs. And then I was like, now my legs, my thighs hurt. And then it was like in my hips. And then I was about up to here. And I was like, I probably should have just done my whole body right off the bat. But I went to my hot spot. And at the time I was having some weird foot thing. Like I'd strained my foot. It's a long story, but you know. And so I was like, oh, I'll go to my feet. This will feel amazing. And plus the energetic component and all that. Ended up doing everything, including my face, by the way, which I didn't suggest, but it felt good. So if just your hot spots feels good, because like say you have a bad shoulder.
Right.
There's muscle, there's fascia, there's stagnant lymph, there's everything. But if you look at the skin clairvoyantly or even scan it, it's not functioning like it should, like compared to other parts of the body. Even though it's not a skin issue, because of what's happening underneath, it's reflected in the skin. And so you're really wanting to kind of unwind some of those spots so that it impacts the tissue below it, but it also doesn't start spreading out in the skin. And anytime you detoxify the skin, it stimulates the lungs, the liver, the gallbladder, the kidneys, and the spleen to detoxify. So it is, in my book, a win-win situation. Like it is a super good thing to do.
Okay. All right. I'll start with the hot spots, and
yeah, there you go.
Might wind up doing a coffee spitz
coffee salt baths are amazing. Like I did them every day for like I can't remember, it was like 2 years or something. It was a game changer for me, like a game changer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Red mandarin, what's it good for?
Red mandarin, very uplifting, antispasmodic, good for the nervous system. You could actually even use it for opening up the chest a bit. Like you could use it in treatment for like asthma, things like this, especially early stages.
Yeah.
I find that it's even helpful, like if you're feeling a little anxious or a little wound up. I mean, it's not the top shelf thing to use, but you don't always have to use top shelf. You know what I mean? Like I'll go to a lot of just the bread and butter oils and think, yeah, I got something fancier. And I mean, perfect example, marjoram, hyssop, sage, like they're rock stars, you know? And so mandarin does a lot of kind of antispasmodic, soothing, good for the nerves, fortifying, and any citrus is very uplifting. So even if you're feeling like a little fatigued or a little bit like you just got the blahs, citruses are really good to go to. Citruses are really good to go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because one of the things that I'm noticing at my age is I don't have the get up and go that I used to have. So
work that 3 wise men that you got not too long ago. Really work that. It pumping up the endocrine system, jumpstarting all of that. You know, it's not going to be like when you're 20, but it's helpful. Like I find it to be incredibly helpful.
Okay. All right. Bergamot versus bergamot mint.
Bergamot mint is a little bit more directed to the digestive tract. Bergamot is, bergamot, we were just talking about that last night here. It's again, good for anxiety. It's very soothing. It is actually a very good in the essential oil world. It's one of the better calcium channel blockers for blood pressure.
Yeah.
And it's also a bit of a mood stabilizer. And so like when I kind of am feeling like go, and then, okay, gotta sit and rest, fatigue starts to set in, but sometimes you're not aware of it. And that's when there starts to be a little bit more fluctuation of like, I don't want to get up and work today, or, you start getting a little bit like not cranky, but you get a little bit like just blah. And the bergamot is really good for just keeping the emotions really even keeled.
Okay. So even though they have the same name, they do real different things.
Yeah, like the bergamot mint is a little bit more directed. I usually almost use it exclusively for digestive issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Very good. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
I finished going through the rest of the classes. I'll probably have some more questions for you
Oh,
next
good,
week.
good.
Why I do have a request.
Yes.
So some of the questions that I have are for some of the things that you're doing with Astara, where it doesn't include oils.
Sure.
Could you do one of your classes per month where we can ask,
Yeah.
Astara
Oh, yeah, I
type
would love
energy
that.
questions?
Like on Wednesdays when we do the 2 recordings,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll open it up and people have a bunch of questions, and then sometimes I'll open it up to questions and there's nobody,
Right.
nobody asks. So if I know people have questions, I'd love to do that.
Yeah. So if in the next couple of weeks you could do a Q&A session for
How
Astara.
about, this week we're getting ready for WESOC, which is at the end of the
Yeah.
week. How about
Mhm.
next week? We'll open up that first session for Q&A, and maybe even the second.
All right, that'd be great. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the discussion tomorrow about breaking patterns. So
Yeah, boy.
good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's really interesting, the whole pattern type.